Hi everyone, it's Nicole Witt, your miracle mentor. And I've had a couple where this video is going to be about chapter 1, section 3, atonement and miracles, in A Course in Miracles. But before I get into it, I just want to tell you kind of this little game Holy Spirit has been playing. So generally I've been doing these videos. I read a section in the morning in my practice time, and then later that day, I make a video on it. Well, it's been a couple days now, and what has happened is, I don't have to feel pressure to make video that one day, but I don't get to move on in the course, this time through. Obviously, I've read it before, but so now I have read this section, I don't know, 3 or 4 days in a row in the morning. And I feel that it was so that I could get a deeper understanding each time I read it, which of course happens. And it's always, I just find it so fascinating sometimes when Spirit leads me to these little practices like this. Okay, let's read this section 3 days in a row. Let's do this for a certain amount of days. Like that part of the curriculum that drops in like that is so cool to me. I just love it. So, really listen to what you're being guided to do. Maybe you're guided to do a workbook lesson for a whole week before you move on or something like that. So Holy Spirit is always working with you and what you need. You're getting personalized instruction. So it's so awesome. So I'm going to read this section and we'll see what I picked up over the last 4 days. Atonement and Miracles. I, which is this Jesus is talking, am in charge of the process of atonement, which I undertook to begin. When you offer a miracle to any of my brothers, you do it to yourself and me. The reason you come before me is that I do not need miracles for my own atonement, but I stand at the end in case you fail temporarily. My part in the atonement is the canceling out of all errors that you could not otherwise correct. When you have been restored to the recognition of your original state, you naturally become part of the atonement yourself. As you share my unwillingness to accept error in yourself and others, you must join the great crusade to correct it, listen to my voice, learn to undo error, and act to correct it. The power to work miracles belongs to you. I will provide the opportunities to do them, but you must be ready and willing. Okay, so remember, the opportunities to perform the miracles are being provided for us by Jesus, by Holy Spirit, by the universe, whatever term works for you. Okay, but we don't have to make those opportunities. They're going to be handed to us. Doing them will bring conviction in the ability, because conviction comes through accomplishment. Okay, so when you accomplish something, you feel more convicted about, hey, I can do that. Like I did this thing and this happened, and now I have more conviction because I had that accomplishment. The ability is the potential, the achievement is its expression, and the atonement, which is the natural profession of the children of God, is the purpose. So first of all, it says the atonement is the natural profession of the children of God. Like we don't think of profession that way, right? Like when we think about our profession or what somebody's profession is, it's their job. It's what they do. In the worldly terms, that's how we look at it. So he's saying here that our only job is the atonement, right? And so that becomes this idea of we have the potential, we have this potential for miracles. That's our ability. We get more, we do them, we have them accomplished, and we feel what it feels like. We believe in them, we have conviction. And then the natural expression of that at the end is the atonement, which is our only real function here, our only profession, as he says. We're on to paragraph 2. Heaven and earth shall pass away means that they will not continue to exist as separate states. My word, which is the resurrection and the life, shall not pass away because life is eternal. You are the work of God, and his work is wholly lovable and wholly loving. This is how a man must think of himself in his heart, because this is what he is. So everyone is wholly lovable and wholly loving, including you. That's your nature. It cannot be changed. The forgiven are the means of the atonement. Being filled with spirit, they forgive in return. Those who are released must join in releasing their brothers, for this is the plan of the atonement. Miracles are the way in which minds that serve the Holy Spirit unite with me for the salvation or release of all of God's creations. I am the only one who can perform miracles indiscriminately because I am the atonement. You have a role in the atonement which I will dictate to you. Ask me which miracles you should perform. This spares your needless effort because you'll be acting under direct communication. Okay, so he's going back to this idea, what we've talked about the last couple of videos, of that we're not deciding what miracles to perform. We're not even deciding what a miracle is. We have no part in this other than to be willing when we are asked to do something. And because we do not know anything. We don't know anything. And when we have a miracle, when it changes our mind, then, but we might not have to take action. That's actually coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and read what he has to say on that. The impersonal nature of the miracle is an essential ingredient because it enables me to direct its application. And under my guidance, miracles lead to the highly personal experience of revelation. A guide does not control, but he does direct, leaving it up to you to follow. Lead us not into temptation means recognize your errors and choose to abandon them by following my guidance. Okay, so he is going to direct us what to do, gives us the opportunities, and again, it might not be action. It might just be a change of our perception, which leads to a change in who we are. Just naturally, we might not need to actually do anything. So we will be directed if we need to do anything. It's not for us to decide because we don't know the whole plan. Error cannot really threaten truth, which can always withstand it. Only the error is actually vulnerable. You are free to establish your kingdom where you see fit, but the right choice is inevitable if you remember this. Spirit is in a state of grace forever. Your reality is only spirit. Therefore, you are in a state of grace forever. And I just love that it's one of my favorite little prayers there. I had it up my wall for a while. You're in a state of grace forever. You know what? Like, close your eyes and just put your hand on your heart and think about being in a state of grace forever. And that's your truth. That's the reality of who you are. Atonement undoes all errors in this respect, and thus uproots the source of fear. Whenever you experience God's reassurances as threat, it is always because you are defending misplaced or misdirected loyalty. When you project this to others, you imprison them, but only to the extent to which you reinforce errors they have already made. This makes them vulnerable to the distortions of others, since their own perception of themselves is distorted. Okay, so when somebody has a distorted perception of themselves, which most of us do, at least some of the time, and then that person then becomes vulnerable to the projections of others, right? So it's like this interlocking, they work together. Somebody feels crappy about themselves, they're going to pick up on somebody else's projections, and you're just reinforcing it. The miracle worker can only bless them, and this undoes their distortions and frees them from prison. So if you're not projecting anything, if you're clear in yourself and you know that you are wholly loving and wholly lovable and you are in a state of grace forever, then you're not heaping anything on top of them. You're not doing anything to imprison them. And in that, they are able then to free themselves because there's nothing coming from that seemingly outside, right? They're only left with what's happening inside of them. because there's nothing outside of them to blame and delay their recognition that it's all coming from inside. You respond to what you perceive, and as you perceive, so shall you behave. The golden rule asks you to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This means that the perception of both must be accurate. The golden rule is the rule for appropriate behavior. You cannot behave appropriately unless you perceive correctly. Since you and your neighbor are equal members of one family, as you perceive both, so will you do to both. You should look out from the perception of your own holiness to the holiness of others, right? So this is talking about the golden rule, and it's more than do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's that you and the others, you're equal, you're the same. So whatever you do unto others, you are doing unto yourself. So you only want to look out to others with your holiness and see their holiness. Miracles arise from a mind that is ready for them. By being united, this mind goes out to everyone, even without the awareness of the miracle worker himself. The impersonal nature of miracles is because the atonement itself is one, uniting all creations with their creator. As an expression of what you truly are, the miracle places the mind in a state of grace. The mind then naturally welcomes the host within and the stranger without. When you bring in the stranger, he becomes your brother. Okay? So when we remember that we're in that state of grace forever, the miracle is going out without us even being aware of it. And it is then helping others, and then we welcome our brother because we're more in line. So it's just this continual cycle. And we get to go first. This is all under our control. That's what's so exciting. Miracles are selective only in the sense that they are directed towards those who can use them for themselves. Since this makes it inevitable that they will extend them to others, a strong change of atonement is welded. However, this selectivity takes no account of the magnitude of the miracle itself, because the concept of size exists on a plane that is itself unreal. Since the miracle aims at restoring the awareness of reality, it would not be useful if it were bound by laws that govern the error it aims to correct. So this section for me is really about remembering who you are, that you're wholly loved and wholly lovable. You're in a state of grace forever. And when we're in that place, then we just listen to what is being asked of us to do. And we don't take it upon ourselves to decide what is the best. We don't take it upon ourselves to decide this person over here needs my help and I'm going to help them so that they'll change. Like, this is going to be this thing. Like, no, that's not how it works, right? I mean, we may be guided to certain people, but we really have to listen and really come from, look at our motivation for trying to do things. If we're trying to take action and say that it's a miracle, that we're trying to change a situation, we're trying to force a change in the way we see things, that's not the way it works. And that's not how it's being directed. And he keeps talking in this section about the impersonal nature of the miracle. So we can't direct it, because when our personal mind gets involved, that ego mind gets involved, it just screws everything up. We know that, right? So we just, again, hand it over. And I look forward to the next video, which we will be looking at the escape from darkness. So I'll see you then. Thank you so much. I love you.